The Walking Dead, Dead City introduces a new breed of mutated zombies, featuring 3 heads and 6 arms, which are incredibly grotesque. The tunnels are filled with the stench of decay and piles of zombies, making it nauseating to be there. Tip: watch it during your mealtime. Without further ado, the story picks up right where the previous episode left off. Maggie's team suffered heavy casualties during the battle at the Coliseum. They are forced to venture into the sewers of Manhattan, which are littered with bodies and filled with methane gas. The noxious smell makes it unbearable, causing headaches and nausea. They must escape quickly. Tommaso leads the way, and the others follow closely. Soon, they notice something unusual nearby. Tommaso investigates and discovers a pile of human fat. At that moment, Ginny rushes to climb up the pile of fat. Maggie stops her. Maggie knew Ginny was trying to climb up to find Negan, but the access holes are already closed. This kind of risky behavior will put the team in danger. Ginny didn't say anything as the group moved on. In another room, Tommaso finds 2 oxygen tanks that only the members of the Thugs gang could have brought there. Not caring too much, they hurriedly grabbed their oxygen tanks to breathe. The smell of the zombies here was simply too nauseating. Amaya suggests giving 1 tank to Ginny because she's younger, and the others take turns with the remaining tank. However, when Tommaso hands Maggie the oxygen tank, she refuses. Maggie looks at Tommaso in silence. Amaya wonders why the mission was kept so secret and how the Croat knew their plans. Tommaso suspects Luther betrayed them, as he couldn't be found when they left. Maggie then reveals that Tommaso was the one who betrayed them. Tommaso was very familiar with the escape route, and even designed the retreat through the sewers in advance. He was the one who snitched on this operation. Hearing this, Tommaso was a bit angry, and he argued strongly.
Estás paranoica, ¿sabes?
¿Por qué te quitaste la mochila?
No confías en nadie.
It turns out that the oxygen cylinder Tommaso found when he came here was not a chance find, but something he had put in his backpack beforehand. Amaya finds it hard to accept that Tommaso has always been her best friend. Tommaso tries to explain that he did all this for Amaya and that he wants to keep them safe in the future. Amaya was disappointed that the person she trusted the most would betray the team and sacrifice so many of her companions for the sake of the so-called good things. After that, Amaya left sadly, seeing that their lies have been exposed. Tommaso and Maggie look at each other angrily. Maggie thought Tommaso wanted to fight. However, Tommaso did not make any move. Despite the rift, they must focus on escaping. They continued their journey, but unfortunately, the path ahead was blocked by zombies. Maggie and the 3 of them stopped for a short break. Watching Tommaso clearing the zombies in front of them, they wondered what his intentions were. Maggie wanted to approach Tommaso to inquire, but the methane's effects made her dizzy and disoriented. Tommaso offered her an oxygen tank, but Maggie still refused. During this break, Tommaso finally revealed the truth. Initially, Tommaso had been captured by the Croat and managed to escape the arena through his own strength. However, just as he was about to reach the exit, the Croat captured him again. In exchange for his life, Tommaso had to reveal the hiding place of the survivors, allowing him to be reunited with Amaya. The Croat promised him a boat and a comfortable dwelling on the mainland, complete with a clean kitchen and a cozy bedroom. The condition was that he had to lead everyone to the arena. Tommaso was tired of the constant struggle for survival and yearned for a peaceful life with Amaya, which led him to make this choice. However, for the sake of the person he loved, Tommaso felt compelled to make this choice. Like Maggie said before, safety at all costs, and this is what he got. Hearing Tommaso's statement, Maggie's heart rippled. Just then, Amaya's cries for help echoed through the tunnel, and Tommaso rushed to her aid. The zombies on the floor suddenly tripped Tommaso. Maggie tried to intervene, but it was too late. By the time she finished with the zombies, Amaya was no longer alive. On the other side, Tommaso's situation was no better. Despite his fighting prowess, he couldn't withstand the sudden zombie attack, and his neck had been bitten.
No.
Todo lo fastidia, Amaya. Amaya!
The team was reduced to just Maggie and Ginny. They pressed on, and Maggie attempted to persuade Ginny to return to the hilltop. Maggie knew that if Negan knew Ginny was here, Negan wouldn't hesitate to take Ginny out of Manhattan. Then her plan to save her son would go down the drain. Ginny nodded and didn't say anything. A little while later they came across a pile of zombies, the methane emanating extra strongly due to the sheer number of them. They managed to get over the pile of bodies, but Maggie gets one of her feet stuck in the body. At that moment, the low roar of the zombies came over. Realizing the danger, Maggie urged Ginny to run while she fought the zombies alone. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't free her trapped leg. Suddenly, the zombies stood up, and Maggie was knocked down. With quick thinking, Maggie pulled out her weapon and stabbed a zombie in the head. However, the zombie's belly split open, revealing 2 more heads, creating a disgusting sight. Luckily, Maggie is a good fighter, and solved several heads of zombies one by one. By the time the crisis was over, Maggie was exhausted. She climbed the stairs, calling out Ginny's name, wanting to catch up with her, but the letters Ginny had left on the pipe left Maggie dumbfounded. Ginny used the words to accuse Maggie of being a fraud. Maggie had told her that the Hilltops food had been stolen by the Croat, but Ginny had secretly seen the grain stored in the Hilltops barn. She also realized that their Manhattan journey was a deception. Maggie hadn't come to seek Negan's help to rescue her son. Instead, she had brought Negan here to exchange him for her own child. Everything became clear to Ginny. Ginny hadn't come impulsively to find Negan, she had come to save him. It's hard to imagine a police setting in a post-apocalyptic world of zombies, due to Negan's killing of the sheriff and his 4 deputies. The New Babylon law enforcement officers were determined to apprehend Negan and bring him to justice. However, the dangers in Manhattan were numerous, and before they could capture Negan, only Pearlie remained from the law enforcement team. Ironically, at a critical moment, Negan ended up saving Pearlie's life. After escaping the arena, they sought refuge in a store. Pearlie, however, didn't appreciate Negan's assistance. Despite Negan having saved him, it didn't absolve him of his crimes. Negan explained that the sheriff had harmed and insulted his wife, and any man would have made the same choice. Pearlie didn't respond but proceeded to confiscate Negan's weapons, making it clear that Negan was now his prisoner. They came out into the street and Pearlie was going to go to the docks to take Negan back to New Babylon. Negan reminds him that the boat is damaged.
¿No crees que es caminar a lo estúpido? Muelles sin botes? Como ya dije, los botes se hundieron.
Negan, for all his talk, has a remarkable intelligence. Pearlie knew about the foam flotation blocks at the docks that they could use for drifting. Negan quickly deduced that Pearlie was a local resident based on this information. Just then, a horde of zombies surrounded them, and the numbers were overwhelming. They quickened their pace, but the zombies had already encircled them, reaching out with their rotting hands. Negan, always valuing his leather jacket and adhering to his philosophy of run if you can, finally spotted an exit. They locked the door behind them and entered a large building that resembled a warehouse. Walking along the side of the iron frame attracted the attention of the 2 men. Tied to the dolls looked bizarre field. Looked at the zombies outside the door. Negan thought for a moment. Then the 2 of them walked on. They entered another room where a zombie was strapped to a chair with its hands tied to the armrests, and a large axe was embedded in its skull. Recalling the puppet, Negan marveled at the sheer madness of the person responsible for these gruesome displays. At this moment, Negan smelled a hint of danger, then the 2 of them walked out. However, when Pearlie wasn't paying attention, Negan seized the opportunity to grab a zombie he had just discovered and flung it at Pearlie, clearly trying to get rid of him. Unfortunately, the exit downstairs had been sealed with wooden boards, and Pearlie, after dealing with the zombies, caught up to he. By then, Pearlie's wound had worsened, and without Negan, he would be left to die. Negan engaged Pearlie in a calm conversation. Negan was willing to help him, as long as he agreed to let go of the damned police procedures of apprehending criminals. After all, it was the end of the world. Pearlie, however, refused Negan's offer, and Negan couldn't comprehend his stubbornness. Nevertheless, Negan assisted Pearlie and helped him leave the area. As they watched the daylight fade, the 2 of them arrived at a school bus. Negan pried open the door, and the inside appeared relatively safe. Negan then located a first aid kit, showcasing his survival skills. As a former physical education teacher, he knew that school buses were equipped with first aid supplies. Pearlie became increasingly puzzled about why Negan had decided to save him. Negan explained that if Pearlie died, New Babylon would pin the blame on him, sending more police after him. It was clear that Negan had formed a favorable impression of Pearlie. Compared to the harmony on the school bus, the Croat is a bit depressed, and angry enough to bump into passing zombies. The Croat thought he could talk Negan into joining him, but Negan didn't take him seriously. The Croat entered a theater where a group of people were reveling in the apocalypse. It turned out to be the new base of the Violencia gang. The Croat reached a passageway where a woman emerged.
Hey, lady.
Fuera de mi camino, perro.
Once again, the Croat gets the short end of the stick, and no one takes him seriously. Then, a subtle detail emerged. The Croat politely knocked on a door. indicating that the people inside held a higher status than he did. The Croat reported his work, stating that he had cleared out the survivor groups, and Negan was now on the island. However, the woman only cared about results and didn't want to hear about the process. Failure to bring Negan here is a problem with the Croat's abilities. The Croat is afraid to say anything. Luckily, when he pulled out his marshal's badge, the women showed a lot of interest. She was the true ruler of the island. In the post-apocalyptic world, greed prevailed. The mainland's law enforcement agencies would undoubtedly attempt to breach their hard-earned kingdom if they discovered their existence. The Croat couldn't allow that to happen. The Croat then prepared to leave, but the woman extended her hand. The Croat understood, and at that moment he was like an obedient child. On the other side, Ginny had successfully escaped the sewer, and it was now late at night. She hesitated for a moment, then fired a flare gun into the sky, casting a red glow over the lifeless city. Whether it was Negan in the vehicle or Maggie, who had just escaped, everyone was captivated by the crimson light. All the mysteries would remain for the next episode. We'll see you next time.